Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. This is pastor, stand-up comedian, author, small business owner, and podcaster, Michael Giannopoulos. Here by myself this week. Beth and Maria are away on a trip together. I know that's shocking, but it's just me. So we're going to have some fun. I said last week on the podcast, this week was going to be a little different. I'm going to debut a couple things that I've been working on, and I'll kind of let you in on all of that and how we got to that point here in just a few minutes. But hey, welcome. I thought about something the other day that we have not talked about yet this year, and I think that it needs to be addressed, and that is our Big 12. Beth's Big 12 and my Big 12. If you're new to the podcast, this started back in 2024. We turned 50, Beth and I did, and we each came up with a list of 12 things that we wanted to do, basically between turning 50 and turning 51, that we've never done before. She had her list, I had mine, and it just kind of like little mini bucket list. And Beth and I have been extremely blessed in our life. We have done a lot. Almost at times it feels like a Forrest Gump type life where we just have been really blessed and got to experience a lot of things. So it was a little difficult to come up with stuff, but so we had to kind of dig deep. But anyway, I came up with 12. She came up with 12. We attempted to accomplish them. I believe I knocked out 10 of my 12. I think she got 9 of her 12 done. And so November of 2025, we announced what our upcoming Big 12 would be. And so she has 12 and I have 12. She's not here to discuss hers. I'm here to discuss mine. I want to give an update on my Big 12 because I've knocked off a few, but for this year, this is kind of the year between age 51 and 52. I'm about to knock out quite a few here the next few months. So I kind of want to give an update where I'm at, and then we'll circle back maybe at the end of August and kind of see how I've been able to do this. But just to recap, these are the Big 12 that I said I wanted to do this year. There's 2 that were a holdover. I said I only got 10 out of 12 last year. So I went ahead and took the 2 I didn't get done and put them at the top of my list this year. One is visit a new state. We've been a bunch of places in the U.S., so visiting a new state is a little more difficult. A lot of the states that I'm missing are what you would call the flyover states. And so I've got to figure out a way to kind of get to those states. And there's also a few in the far northeast and northwest. So anyway, I want to visit a new state. The second thing I said was tent camp by myself. Tent camp by myself. I've tent camp before with Beth or with the kids or with youth groups or with the church group. I've never gone out in the woods by myself or a park or somewhere and just been all by myself and stayed the night in a tent. And this happened because I'll watch these shows. We'll say like Naked and Afraid or something like that, where you're just kind of out there by yourself. And I'll say, oh, I could do that. And Beth's always like, you could not do that. And Beth will say, I don't even think you could stay one night by yourself. So this is my proof to her and to the world and maybe to myself that I can at least stay one night. So yeah, so I'm going to try to tent camp by myself. It hasn't happened yet because I was waiting till a little bit better weather. And so now that we are into June, I'm going to go try to find a place and go camp somewhere. I said lose 20 pounds. That is a work in progress. I had lost 10 at one point. I kind of gained a couple pounds back. I think right now I'm about 8 pounds down from where I was when I started this list. So I'm making progress. I'm not there yet, but I will let everyone know kind of when I hit that mark. But my goal is to be 20 pounds less at the end of October of this year than I was at the end of October next year. So I'm not going to drop 20 and then mark it off. I want to be 1 year out. I want to be at 20 pounds less. And so that's kind of my goal. I also said publish 2 books. I've published 1 so far this year. That was my book Available. It came out in January, I believe. I have my second book, which will be my third overall, is almost finished. As we said last week on the podcast, I am taking a sabbatical right now from ministry. I've been in full-time ministry now for 30 years, and I'm just going to take a break. And so during my sabbatical, my plan is to finish this third book because it's so close to being done and publish it. So once that happens, which could be by the end of this month, really, then I'll be able to check that off, publish 2 books. Another one I put down is plant a garden. I've never planted a garden, and we've been married 28 years and have lived in a house for 26 of those 28 years. And so we've had yards and been able to do this. I just never have. I don't know. It's just not something that I've ever felt I could do. But I want to challenge myself, and I did challenge myself to plant a garden. So I had a guy here locally build me a very nice raised garden bed, cedar. It's quality. It's about a 3 foot by 6 foot by about 2 foot deep, maybe something like that. I mean, it's a perfect coffin. But anyway, I got that put in. I looked at it online, watched some YouTube videos on how to layer, kind of the soil and various things. I went and got some plants, put them in there, vegetable plants, and I planted a garden. And I went ahead and checked that one off because my tomato plants already have tomatoes on them and they're growing and it looks great. They look good. There's only one of the plants that I put in that I'm a little worried about, but all the rest seem to be healthy. They all seem to be going pretty well. So I planted a garden to check that beast off. New personal best in a 5K. I am not a runner. So last year, Beth and I did run a 5K last year. It was the second 5K I've ever run and ever ran, whatever. But both times were about the same, the one from several years ago and the one last year. And I'd like to beat that. I have a time in mind that I would like to be at, or sub, I guess I should say, sub this number. And so I'm going to try it. We actually have a 5K coming up in 2 weeks. I guess, well, I don't know whatever today is, maybe 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks or so. I'm going to be doing my first try at it. So if I can beat my personal best in this 5K, then great, marked it off. If I don't beat it, I'll sign up for another 5K and try it again. This one I'm struggling with. I read 10 books this year. I said I wanted to read 5 fiction and 5 nonfiction books. I've never been a big reader. And when I do read, I read nonfiction. I read leadership books, spiritual growth books, those types of things. I don't get into fiction books, like I'm not going to sit down and read Harry Potter or Percy Jackson or something like that, Stephen King. But I feel like I need to. I've heard that kind of helps keep the creative juices flowing in your brain, is if you kind of take some time and read some fiction books. So I'm going to try to read 5 fiction, 5 nonfiction. Right now, I think I have, I'm going to say almost 2 nonfictions done. So I still haven't even started a fiction book, but I've got 2 of my 5 almost done of the nonfictions. Another one I did was take a stand-up class. Did that. You guys have heard that journey, and it has evolved from just taking a stand-up class to now I'm actually doing stand-up comedy. I've got 3 dates this month that I'm already booked for, the 14th, the 20th, and the 27th. So 3 consecutive weekends. So that's kind of happened. So that's pretty cool. Experience a new sport event. I think I shared this. I did share this, that I'm actually volunteering at a PGA event this summer. There's a PGA event that comes, that's the, Pro Golf Association. It comes over. There's a PGA event that happens every August in Greensboro, North Carolina. I signed up to be a volunteer, and they gave me my assignment. They accepted me. They gave me my assignment. I'm going to get to be a standard bearer, which means I'm the guy that gets to walk with the group of golfers and hold up the sign that says what their score is. And they have me doing that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'll get to be between the ropes. I'll get to be walking with these pro golfers, holding up the sign. I've been to a lot of pro golf events, but I've never been like that. So to me, when I said experience a new sports event, that's a new experience for me. That's going to be fun. See a new concert headliner. I haven't done that yet. We do have one penciled in and circled, maybe in July. It'll kind of depend on Beth's travel schedule now with her new job, if she'll be able to go, if I'm going to be in town to be able to go. But it'll probably be a week of type thing where I buy tickets. But I don't want to spoil it yet. But there's a pretty big headliner coming to Greensboro that I would love to see, that I've never seen before. A living legend. So I'd like to see them. So anyway, we'll see about that. Visit a new national park. That one hasn't happened yet. Maybe it'll happen. I think we even said on the podcast that might be something I could knock out 3 in one thing. I could go to a new national park I've never been to, in a new state that I have not been to, and tent camp by myself. Maybe that's what I need to do on this sabbatical, and I can knock out 3 things literally in one night. So I'm thinking about doing that. And then the last thing on the Big 12 was visit Mount Mitchell. I've never visited Mount Mitchell. Mount Mitchell is just a couple of hours away from where we live here in North Carolina. It's not just the tallest mountain in North Carolina. It's the tallest mountain east of the Mississippi. So it's a significant mountain. Beth and I got to go there. We went and visited it and hiked up to it and hiked around the top of it. And that was a lot of fun. So I checked that off. So where I'm at, 3 out of the 12 I've knocked out already. I planted a garden. I took a stand-up class. I visited Mount Mitchell. I am progressing on losing 20 pounds. I'm progressing on publishing 2 books. I've made a little bit of progress on reading 10 books. I'm signed up to experience a new sports event. So I think there's some stuff I could knock off this. Maybe, this realistically, looking at this, I could about have everything knocked off by the end of August, with the exception of to lose 20 pounds, just because I said I wanted to be 20 pounds less at the end of October, which is kind of our Big 12 year. We started it at Beth's birthday, which is October 26th, and run it to the next October 26th. So I want to be 20 pounds lighter October 26th of this year than I was last year. So you'll have to wait on that one. But man, all the rest, if I got on it, I could knock this stuff out by the end of August. So I like this. I love the Big 12. I've never been a bucket list guy, but this gives me just a little bit of momentum to do some stuff that I've never done before. I was having lunch yesterday with a great friend of mine that we've been friends since high school, and so a long time. And I had not seen him since I got my tattoo, I don't think. And so he was like, well, what are you doing with that tattoo? And I told him, I was like, well, it's part of our Big 12. And I started telling him about that. And he just got me thinking yesterday. I was like, we really haven't updated our Big 12. And so I wanted to kind of let you guys know. And hey, this is where I'm at. It's 25% over. I've got 3 out of 12 knocked out. I hope to definitely knock out at least 2 more this month, with the publishing the second book and hopefully the 5K. And so I could definitely be there. Yeah. So anyway, that is the Big 12 update. So last week I sat down to actually finish this 3rd book, and I got distracted. I got distracted by my comedy. I was, I sit down and I write out, I guess I have probably 13 or 14 what I call bits, part of something that I can put together in a comedy set. I don't know how other comics do it. I just have a document that literally I write out a story or write out thoughts on a particular subject, and I'll label it certain things. Like I may label one smart versus dumb, and that's a joke story that I tell about Beth and I. She's smart and I'm stupid, and stuff in there. Or I'll write down lawyer versus pastor is the title of another one, and I talk about what it's like for a pastor and lawyer to be married. And so there's a comedy bit in that. So I have about 13 or 14 of those. Well, I was looking at those, and there's two stories in particular that I've used in my stand-up comedy so far. One is the story of getting cut from a baseball team when I was in middle school. And it's pretty funny. Not an athlete, not a very good athlete. The whole bit is around how I got cut from every sports team I ever tried out for. Like the only teams I ever was on as a kid, whether it's elementary, middle school, high school, the only teams I were ever on were teams that didn't make cuts. And the story, and it's a true story, is I was on a no-cut team and got cut. That's how bad I was. And so I tell that story. And so that's a pretty funny story. And then there's another story where I talk about when I was dating. This is obviously pre-marriage because I'm not, we're not into that kind of lifestyle. But, I was dating and I took a girl to the movies one time and she went crazy. Like the movie didn't start on time. She said, I'm going to go see the manager. And I am not confrontational really. And so I was just, or at least it doesn't come naturally. It comes very natural. It came very natural to this chick. So next thing I know, man, she's went and talked to the manager and found out the projector was broken. Instead of just coming back in and getting me and us leaving, she comes in and announces to the whole theater that the projector's broken. They weren't going to tell us. And her exact words were, they were just going to leave us sitting in here like caged animals. This was a sold out movie theater in a not so great part of town. These people went crazy. I thought she was starting a riot. I was mortified. All I wanted to do was leave and I couldn't. And she came and got me and caused a little scene. And on my way out, I literally saw a guy that I'd graduated high school with like 5 years earlier. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is brutal. And I tell a whole joke. That's a whole bit. And I tell that story. So I have these two stories that are in my wheelhouse of jokes that I tell, stand-up jokes. One of my favorite comics is Dusty Slay. I love Dusty. I guess, I don't know, a few months ago now on his podcast was saying how he was kind of like diving into AI. And what he was doing is he said he used to write poetry back in the day. And so he was playing around with AI and he took some of his poetry that he wrote and he put it into an app that would turn it into music. And so he was saying he took this poetry and he turned it into a country song and he did something else. And it just sounded pretty funny. And he played a little bit of it. It was great. And I know people, creatives, artists, hate AI. My daughter hates AI. She's a film student. She believes that AI is going to put her out of a job before she even has one. Not a fan. But I guess for me, it's something fun to play around with. And so I don't know. I was sitting there looking at my comedy set and I was like, I wonder if any of these could be a song. So I was reading over I write everything down word for word, kind of how I want to do a joke. I don't do the joke word for word. I just kind of look it over, get it ingrained in my brain. There's key points I want to hit. And then I just get up and, I tell the story and I tell the joke. I mean, that's kind of what I don't tell jokes. I don't, there's not like knock, knock or whatever. It's just, it's kind of a Nate Bargatze style where I just tell real stories that are crazy, point out some of the stupidity within the story. And most of the time I'm making fun of myself or Beth. And I never tell anything Beth does not approve of. So she's 100% behind our comedy. She thinks it's funny. Obviously, you've heard us on the podcast. All of our banter is real. None of it is made up. That's why I think this podcast works, is because we literally just hit record and start having a conversation. Everything you guys hear on this podcast, I promise you, is 100% authentic. And it would be a conversation we would have over any dinner or lunch or sitting in our living room just talking. I mean, this is how we communicate. So I say all that to say, I take these stories and I was like, all right, I think these could be some songs. So I took, for example, I'll just do the first one. I took the getting cut from a baseball team story. And I took that story that I'd written out word for word. I put it in the chat GPT and I said, break this down as if it was verses and chorus. And it did that. It just took my words and broke it down just like it was a song. I don't know how to write a song, so this helped. So I did that. I then took what they had, what ChatGPT gave me, and rewrote some stuff, tweaked some things, moved some stuff around a little bit. And then I found an app. And I took this app, and what you can do is you upload your lyrics. And you can upload the lyrics, and then you can tell it what style of music you want. Well, I just had this feeling after reading these lyrics and reading this story again and thinking about the story about getting cut from a baseball team. To me, it just screamed 90s country. Just kind of this sad 90s country song. And it is a sad song with absolutely ridiculous lyrics and a story behind it. So I did that. I put it in, and it spit out an amazing country song with my lyrics that I'd written. And so I took those lyrics, I tweaked them a little bit more, and I just kept doing this. I would tweak the song, put it back in, tweak the lyrics again, put it back in until it came up with something that I was happy with. And so now I have a song called No Cut Shame. No Cut Shame is the name of it, which at the end of this podcast, you're going to have a chance to listen to as it makes its worldwide debut. You get to hear it here first. And so it will be played at the very end of this podcast. The second story that I wanted to do was the movie theater story, where the chick just went crazy and it was just comical and everything that went on there. And I did the same thing. I took that story, plopped it in the chat GPT, told it the same thing, break it down into chorus, verses, take my story and do that. Then I took that, went through the whole editing process again, tweaking stuff, getting it to where I thought it made sense. And then I was like, then the hard part was like, okay, so now what kind of song does this need to be? One of my favorite genres of music is like 90s, what they would call like, I don't know, punk pop or something like that. Like I'm talking like the Blink-182, Green Day, Weezer. Like, I don't know. I just love that kind of music. I don't know why. It's always, and one of my favorite all-time Christian bands ever is Reliant K. I love Reliant K. And so that's kind of, they're just a Christian Blink-182 sounding. It is what it is. But I love Reliant K. And so that's what I did. I took this and I put it into the program again. And I said, give me this song as a 90s punk song that sounds like a Blink-182 or a Reliant K. And it gave me this song I love it. I absolutely love it. This one's called Hornets Nest. So that's what the punk song's called. So I have two songs that I've written. One is called No Cut Shame. It's a 90s country song. I have another song I've written called Hornets Nest, which is a Reliant K, Blink-182 style sounding song. I played them both for Beth. She loved them. I played them for our buddy Ross. He loved them. I played them for Josh and Maria. They hated them because it's AI. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm old. I listen to them and I don't really hear AI. They're like, oh, this is definitely AI, Dad. How can you do this? And they're both taking a moral stance against AI. So it's not they were like, the lyrics are fine. The lyrics are great. But Dad, you can't do this. You can't let AI do this song. And maybe not. But you know what? I am. Because I don't see them writing songs. So I've written these two songs based on two comedy bits that I have. And I'm going to play both of them at the end of this podcast, which is right now. So thank you so much for tuning in to this special edition of the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. Hopefully Beth will be back next week. She can talk all about the trip she went on. Also by next week, I'll be able to talk about another comedy show that I'm doing. It's happening with Taylor Vaden on June the 14th at the Muddy Creek Cafe in downtown Winston. Tickets are online. You can just go to Muddy Creek Cafe, Winston-Salem, Old Salem, buy tickets there. I will be able to talk about that also. Actually, Beth will not be back by then, so scratch that. I'll be doing that one again by myself. Beth will be back the following week. So, yeah. So you'll get one more week of just me by myself, and then it'll be her. But right now, here comes the world debut. 2 songs by yours truly, Michael Giannopoulos. The first one, 90s country. The song is called No Cut Shame. It is based on my story that I tell, a true story of getting cut from a no-cut team. And then the second song is called Hornets Nest. It is also based on a true story about a date that I went on that went off the rails pretty quickly at a movie theater. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoy these next 2 songs. Please comment. Let us know what you think about them, and we'll see where we go from there. But anyway, this has been Mike, and this has been another episode of Hey, Are You Still There?
When I was just a little kid, I'd stare at the TV screen, dreaming I'd hit the game-winning shot, be the hero of the hometown team. I'd picture crowds all calling my name and trophies on a shelf. But there was one small problem. I was awful if we're telling the truth ourselves. Basketball cooked me early. Football showed me the gate. Soccer said thanks for trying and wished me better luck someday. I got cut from a no-cut team. That's a special kind of bad. The coach looked around at everybody else and then picked me out of the crowd. Said, son, you might want to find yourself another dream to chase. I didn't just get cut from the roster, I got cut from baseball space. Some kids strike out swinging, some never make first base, but I got cut from a no-cut team. Lord, that's a lonely place. Middle school was finally here, and I thought my luck had changed. They said this team don't make cuts, man, here's my chance at fame. Yeah, I showed up with my glove and cleats, ready for my shining day, till the coach said boys were short on jersey and somebody's gotta go away. Practice ended, 3 of us skied, waiting by the fence. The coach called us over and started handing out encouragement. He looked at the first 2 boys, said y'all got real potential. Keep working, keep practicing. Come back next year, you'll be essential. Then he turned and looked at me like a doctor with bad news. Said, son, have you considered maybe something else to do? How about crafts? Can you crochet? Maybe that's more your speed. And that's the day a baseball coach crushed a young man's dreams. I got cut from a no-cut team. That's a special kind of bad, the kind of story people laugh at long after it has passed. I didn't just lose a roster spot or sit a season out. I got voted off the island before the game began somehow. And some kids strike out swinging, some never make first base, but I got cut from a no-cut team. Lord, that's a lonely place. Now years went by and life moved on. Funny how things turn around. I never became a sports star, but I still found a crowd. And turns out God had other plans, so baseball shut the door. And honestly, looking back, I don't think I could have hit the ball anyway. every dream that falls apart, a new one comes around. Still I wonder every now and then, when memories come to call, if that coach ever tells a story of the worst player of them all. The one he sent to crochet, the one he sent away, the only kid in baseball history who got cut from a no-cut team.
I took a girl to the picture show, bought the popcorn and the Coke, found our seats and settled in, ready for the previews and jokes. 15 minutes past the start time, still not a thing on that screen. She said, I'm gonna find the manager, and I said, what do you mean? 'Cause I ain't much for making waves, I'd rather sit and wait. They could lock the doors and turn out the lights, and I still hesitate. She's the kind that'll kick a hornet's nest just to see what happens next, the kind that'll stand her ground when everybody else backs down. And me, I'd rather disappear than have a room full of strangers stare. But that night I learned some people run from trouble and some people start it. A few minutes later, from the back came a voice over the crowd. The projectors broke, and then it got a little louder. They weren't even gonna tell us, just leave us sitting here all night like a bunch of caged up animals, and the place just came alive. Well, I turned around expecting staff trying to calm the scene, but it was my day with a microphone leading to mute the mean. She's the kind that'll kick a hornet's nest just to see what happens next, the kind that'll stand her ground when everybody else backs down. And me, I'm looking for the exit sign, trying to leave the chaos behind. But that night I learned some people run from trouble and some people start it. Then she spotted me across the room and yelled, like to go, let's go. Every head in that theater turned, and suddenly they all knew. As I made that long walk up the aisle, praying for a miracle, I locked eyes with a guy from school, and he just shook his head real slow. For all he knew, I cured a disease or learned to fly a plane. Instead, the last thing he'd remember was me in that hurricane. Well, years rolled by and life moved on, till one day at the grocery store, that old classmate came walking up like we'd never met before. We talked about jobs and family, then he laughed and said, you know, I still remember that angry girl at the movie show. I always wondered what became of her, whatever happened to that one. I smiled and said, she's doing great. He said, really? What's she done? She's still the kind that'll kick a hornet's nest just to see what happens next, the kind that'll stand her ground when everybody else backs down. And after all these years, she's still got that fire in her eyes. Yeah, that girl who almost started a riot. He said, no kidding. I said, yep, it's true. That girl who almost started a riot.